So, commissions. They are, in my humble hillbilly opinion, a massive pain in the backside. However, as a part-time freelancer, I have to admit that they are extremely important in a variety of ways. The most important being income, obviously, but also for building a portfolio and for gaining confidence in your work, especially if you are a young or inexperienced artist, or animator, or writer, or whatever it is that you do. A lot of people rely on them, or at the least are interested in doing them, but commissions come with quite a few obstacles and challenges if you have the goal of turning freelancing into a career. And because of this, I wanted to talk about the struggles of online commissions and how to possibly go about them. I asked a few people what their thoughts were on some obstacles they faced when offering commissions, and I should note, most of these are from friends or acquaintances who I spoke to, as well as my personal experiences as an illustrator turned animator during 2019 and 2020. I know I mentioned writing, and while I'm looking at this with an artist mindset, some of these points are very generalised and do apply to most people who are offering a type of service online. So I'm going to go through 5 main issues that I found were quite common, and I'm going to be giving some very simplified advice on how to go about dealing with them. Please bear in mind, I'm not an expert. Please don't take my advice as gospel. I just want to help people even the tiniest bit, having faced a few of these issues myself. Alright, let's get into it. So issue 1 is knowing what to offer your potential clients. What I mean by this is that a lot of artists, myself included a few years ago, offer a huge range of styles and levels of complexity at all manner of prices. Sketches, line art, flats, rendering, bust, half body, full body, painterly style, cartoon style, chibi style, the list just goes on and on and on. And believe it or not, this actually works against you. One person I spoke to about this mentioned that when they offered different styles, more than one client tried to request changes to the drawing, which resulted in them basically asking for the more expensive style while insisting on paying a cheaper price. This on its own is just shady. Don't be those clients. Custom art is a luxury, and if you want Walmart prices for these things, just go to Walmart. Does Walmart sell home decor? This is also detrimental to the artist because you're going to have to constantly switch between styles and complexities on a dime, and this is easier for some people than others. The newer you are to doing art though, the more difficult it'll be. It can lead to pretty bad burnout, and if you're offering a style that you're not too experienced in, sometimes you revert to your comfort zone without realising, and it won't look like how you or the client wanted it to. So the solution for this one is probably the easiest. Be selective in what you offer. Sometimes less is more, and oftentimes it's better to play to your strengths when other people are concerned. Obviously, it's hard to just not offer certain things. We all want the full range of our skills to be on display, especially with what I said before about some people using commissions to build a portfolio, but take it from me, it's just not worth the strain. What you can do instead is break it down further and use it to build up certain parts of your portfolio. If you like doing bust shots, offer some profile pic commissions. If you like character design, do some character sheets. If you're trying to improve on multiple character shots, draw some ships. Try and find a niche that you like and stick with that for a while until you feel confident enough to branch out and take on some more work. This will help you build up your confidence while helping stand out from the crowd. This next point is a tricky one, and that is exchange rate. And this point only applies to certain people, most notably artists who deal with international clients. Now, we all know that the cost of living is different wherever you live in the world, and this can have an effect on both how much you feel you should charge for your work, as well as what other people are willing to pay, depending on where you both live. For example, say someone is willing to pay $100 American. That only comes to about £73 in the UK, so you have to account for just over a quarter of that income to be lost. And that's not even taking into account the exchange fee when using services like PayPal. This is also an issue I've seen with people not realising that artists living in certain areas will charge lower prices simply because they have a lower cost of living, and vice versa. So, at the height of the pandemic, me and a classmate got a group together and worked as a small freelancing team doing animations. And let me tell you, in addition to the regular old chestnut of people just not knowing how much animation actually costs and how production works, we would get messages from people in all different areas of the world, such as India, where the cost of living is far lower than where we were. So as a result, any quote that we gave them which felt reasonable to us probably seemed like we were trying to scam them. When we did finally manage to find a willing client, it was a very ambitious guy from Canada who offered me 1,000 Canadian dollars for 3 minutes of character animation. That is still pretty criminal as far as wages go, but we were students and some of us were pretty desperate to pay rent, myself included, and when that $1,000 got converted to pounds, it only came out to around 600, I think. Now, this is a tricky one because it's not anyone's fault and it's not something we ourselves can fix. What we can do is state our prices in a specific currency to try and keep potential clientele contained to people from specific areas. That way you are more likely to get clients who A, exclusively use that currency, or B, are more willing to agree to the prices that you set. I once commissioned a person from Southeast Asia who stated that it was far easier for them to charge in USD currency and convert it. as previous clients apparently didn't understand how the numbering system for their currency worked and were put off by it. I find that personally quite a petty reason to not commission someone, but whatever. This is also good for just memorizing how much a commission will cost in another currency, as I know a few people who have said yes to commissions which sometimes ended up being as cheap as the price of a coffee. What you absolutely should not do is state different prices based on exchange rate in your commission sheets. It will confuse people and make it seem like you're not being fair by charging more to people living in certain places. I made this mistake, don't be me, don't be stupid. Choose a general currency and keep it simple. Next issue is the oversaturated market, and I'm also going to be talking a little bit about pricing here. How many times have you been scrolling through Twitter or Tumblr or wherever you voice your opinions about catboys and astrology and seen a post made within the hour by a potential client looking for a commission, and the post already has over 100 comments and replies by the time you stumble upon it? This is probably the biggest obstacle: standing out, getting noticed, and retaining the client. Digital art is more popular now than it's ever been. Programs and tools are more accessible, and people are becoming more skilled at a younger age. And as a result, you now have a lot more people trying to muscle in on clients and offering straight up masterpieces at very competitively low prices. This isn't anyone's fault, it's just the nature of a competitive industry. However, it does contribute to the problem of people thinking they can take advantage of younger artists who don't fully know how much their skills are worth. I always advise to charge at least minimum wage for your lowest price piece, but the higher the prices go, the more people tend to get muddled. To combat this, there is actually a website I use that helps you calculate an appropriate price based on how long the piece took, the salary you work at, the cost of your materials, and the amount of profit you want to make. I personally would recommend starting around 10 to 30% for the profit part and go higher as you get more skilled and more confident, but it is honestly up to you. I will leave a link to this website in the description, so please check that out if you need a bit of help figuring out your prices. For the getting noticed part, that's a bit harder to help out with. The best advice I can give is to post your sheets everywhere. I know that younger people especially are very apprehensive about websites like Facebook, but it is in fact one of the best places to advertise. If you're a bit wary about using a real name in your real account, you can create a custom page for yourself and use that to join groups dedicated to commissions and advertise yourself. Also, try to look at websites actually dedicated to artists. Don't just show your work on the same 4 social media sites. If I remember correctly, there is a beta social media app for artists called Artful, which I will link below, that gives you a section on your profile for commission rates. We're also well aware that posting just once won't achieve anything, so you're going to have to promote it regularly. Try to keep the post circulating on your account around twice a day, and try to post in places like commission threads. It takes a while, but eventually you will garner a bit of interest, and the right people will end up stumbling upon your post. This next one is a huge fear for most people, and that is art scammers. I touched briefly on a story from someone whose client tried to get a piece for a cheaper price, but many shady people are willing to go much further than that. I've read so many horror stories of people being ghosted without payment after completing a piece, or after doing a sketch, and seeing it posted to social media a while later, often being completed by the scammer themselves. Some of them even go as far as to edit out any signatures or watermarks. This is a rampant issue, especially in tandem with what I said before about younger people who aren't privy on how to protect themselves just yet, and who end up being exploited. It can often be difficult to spot a scammer initially, but there are a number of ways to both identify and combat them, though most people also tend to urge you to just trust your gut. If someone feels off, or if something feels too good to be true, it probably is. It's sad that I have to say that, but please be wary of anyone who gives you that kind of feeling. For some more tangible tips, for the most part, scammers have a very weird way of speaking. Either they will be very specific with what they want in an extremely standoffish tone, or they will continuously compliment you as a way to butter you up. They will also try to push you along with working on something and will constantly try to check up on how the piece is coming along. This is a psychological tactic, as it often causes you to become more frazzled and in turn makes you more susceptible to agreeing to things that you otherwise wouldn't. It's generally good to give someone a specific date to update them on, and if they constantly try to pester you about it before the due date, that is usually a red flag. You can normally tell if someone is just a bit anxious about the process versus someone being unnecessarily rude and impatient. This, bear in mind, is not synonymous with casually conversing with a client in that time. What I mean is, if they message you multiple times a day with, "Is it done yet? Did you work on my commission piece? How far along is my commission?" That is when you should be very wary of who you're dealing with. Always ask for at least half the agreed payment up front, put a watermark across the piece, and please God, use an invoice. Invoices are especially important once you start paying taxes, and also work as a kind of receipt just in case scammers try to accuse you of anything publicly. I understand that invoices are a little bit difficult to understand and figure out how to do initially, but I will link some resources, and trust me, once you've done it a few times it becomes easier, and it'll eventually become second nature. We're all a bit terrified of paperwork. You'll be fine. And lastly, the final and probably second biggest hurdle is being a small creator. I say second biggest because in the context of advertising yourself, if you fit the bill of what someone is looking for, then your reputation or following won't really be as big of a factor. I feel like this one is pretty self-explanatory, but basically, the fewer people following you and appreciating your work, the fewer people will be willing to buy it. It's as simple as that. And that is why it's so much more important for smaller artists to advertise themselves more so than those who have larger audiences. The people with bigger platforms will already have more people who are willing to buy the work. Us small fries have to put in a little bit more effort, unfortunately. This is going to be tough to hear, but you're going to have to network and show both your art and yourself off. The reason that people are so drawn to larger creators is in part due to their personality, and that's why it's paramount for you, within reason, to try and showcase your own personality as well as your work. Many people say that your art should speak for itself, and I agree, but additional factors don't harm your chances. I know that makes it sound stupidly easy, and trust me, it's not. I'm not a talkative person by nature, so I understand that it can be very difficult, especially in a community full of introverts. However, with that in mind, oftentimes the people who commission artists are in fact artists themselves, so they will probably understand where you're coming from. If you feel especially brave or comfortable, try to approach people when you see a piece pop up on your timeline. Compliment other artists' work in art shares and threads, and be polite, while at the same time, try not to heedlessly promote yourself without being considerate of others. We are all in this together, and I personally find it much more rewarding when we support each other regardless of following or familiarity. I've often found that the people who came to me for commissions or help with anything art related often stated that it was because I left a nice comment on their work or simply because I interacted with them. Kindness will open many doors to you, so try to remember that. And that's all I've got for you. I hope these are helpful to some of you. I know a few of them probably seem really obvious, but hey, sometimes you gotta go back to basics, and there's a reason that people keep bringing them up. But with that said, thank you so much for watching. If we have any artists watching who do commissions and want to drop their own little pearls of wisdom in the comments, please feel free, or just comment in general. Please also feel free to like and subscribe. Please stay safe everyone, and I will speak to you soon. Bye!